Thanks, everybody, for coming on this sweltering hot July day. Brandy, can you roll call, please?
Mr. Albert is absent this evening. Mr. Badger,
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower,
Here.
Mr. Gardner,
Here.
Mr. Hausnick,
Here.
Ms. McCoy,
Here.
Mrs. Meyer, here, Mrs. Oberheim,
Here.
and Mr. Young.
Here. All right, very well. We don't have any recognitions or presentations tonight. We do have Mr. Farrar. Going to talk some Title I stuff for us.
Yeah, actually federal programs. It's the annual stakeholder meeting. So it's a chance that we're getting ready in the next few weeks to submit the application for the federal dollars. Now, federal programs, and these are Title I, II, and IV, has been student instruction. And they're very restricted in what you can use it for, but it's meant to be where you're enhancing instruction or giving supports to students. But it's dollars the federal government has available to you. For us, we get about $370,000 total between the three programs. And that sounds like a lot, and I say it every year with our home budgets, but in the school district budget, it's about 1%. So it's a small amount, and it's the federal government and then the state divvy out that money based on need. So obviously, your urban areas tend to get a lot more money. Your higher populated areas get a lot more money than we do. So we have to look at what it's allowable to use. In Title I, it's primarily in areas of reading or math. And you can, and we focus, of course, on reading, because if we get the core basis of reading skills solidified in our students at a younger age, they're going to be more successful as they go on through school. So with that, what we use that money for there is we prioritize, you can buy supplies and things like that. But what we found is if you have highly trained individuals, whether it be teachers and or support staff who are skilled in that area, they're going to do the best job of enhancing and helping students who struggle with reading. And we focus that in those primary grades, K1, 2, and 3. So with that, we use it primarily to help supplement our budget with salary, or basic salaries for, some of our reading teachers, but also paraprofessionals who get trained in that area to work there. So like I said, we could divvy that money in other areas and maybe supplement supplies, but then talking to Brandy and Mr. T, we might not be able to have as many employees. So that's the federal dollars really does the best for us. And I guess that's, the federal programs have been around a long time, but that's where they started. And they said, focus your instruction to enhance and help students who are struggling. And that's the area we felt is the best bang for our buck. Any questions on Title I, what we do with those funds?
No, but I did have just a quick question. When did we update our reading curriculum the last time for elementary? Was that, I kind of have an idea, but
About 6 years ago. Maybe. That's something honestly we're gonna be looking at this year.
because that was chosen when we had a collective group of teachers working on a curriculum, right?
Yeah, and the teachers are really happy with the results we've seen the students over time with it. In fact, somebody talked to Mr. T, something, they don't want to look for us and Mr. Blaze and myself. Whether we want to stick with the similar program who's done an update to theirs, and we're going to study that a little more with some of the teachers, possibly even talk to the company that let's do a couple pilots like we did with our math, and we did with the reading. And we found it to be very successful because before we ask to commit funds and ask our teachers to change direction, we want to make sure is it a quality product.
And so, of course, curriculum would be something that you can use those funds towards.
You can, but then again, if
you lose out on something else.
You lose out on something else, which is why we don't gain, quite frankly, enough monies. We use 100% of it for salary and benefits. That's the only devil you can play with. If you throw it on the supply side, then you have potential on the other point. We may not have, not like it's an ongoing expense.
Right.
You know what I mean? So at that point that year, we may have to say, ooh, do we bite the bullet then within local dollars and somehow come up to pay that person's salary so we can pay for this research, or vice versa, even with the reading series. So it's kind of a
like in a pinch, could you do that? Yeah. Okay.
And again, there's been times back when President Obama when they gave us like there was a surplus of money in the federal dollars, which when did that ever happen? But there was at that time, and there was extra monies that districts could use for unplanned expenses, kind of like Pastor's money did too.
Yeah, this doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, Title II and Title IV, we get combined about $70,000. And again, you're restricted what you can do. You can use that in professional development, you can use it in supplies. What we've always found in analyzing it, years ago, we used it we went to full-day kindergarten with something called accountability block grant, which we still get some money out of that area. But the other area we're able to use was class size reduction. And so we use that to help supplement basically about almost one elementary teacher to keep our class size. And we've just seen we think it's the biggest benefit for our students in the long run. And I think, our classroom assessments, but also our state assessments, all the way up through, I think validate that reason.
Okay.
And that's basically what we do. We do have, if we have any students who go to a private school near like St. John Newman, they could potentially, we may use some of our dollars to supplement supports there. The last couple of years, we've not had any students who qualify for that, so our dollars have been able to stay in district. And so far, so good, running some numbers. It looks like that's going to happen again. But that could change if they would get some students in need that we might need to take a little bit of our, and they're only allowed based on what's called an equitable share. So if we spend about $1,000 a student, that's what they would get per student.
There's a cap on it.
Yes. And again, if that would change, I would let you.
Thank you.
And we're doing that. When we do that, we would bring a contract to you from Williamsport School District. They save us on losing staff time. They have a teacher who goes there every day. And they use their federal dollars to pay for it. They fortunately have always been, when we had a need at St. John Newman or another school, they provide that service for us via a contract. So there again, it doesn't take a teacher or a staff member out of our building to go service those students. They do that for us.
Okay.
And it's been a good partnership, and we're very thankful they're willing to always do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will meet with parents and a couple times throughout the year and inform about their program, give them tips and suggestions. We'll review, we have a policies in place, which we'll update. We'll talk to parents about, high stakes testing and how to help their child at home and how to improve their reading skills and study skills. But I saved you all from a lot of very boring talk with this today, but I want to give you a general overview of what we do with those federal dollars. It's not a lot, but I can tell you those, thankfully you as a board and the community have always supported supplementing that to get a quality program together for our kids. And I think again, the results show. I mean, our kids, they're successful, they go through, they get to do things they dream about and want to do. And again, it all starts at that core base.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Mr. Farrar for his work with federal programs. This program was also audited this year. We had a little visit and everything was fine. We came out of that actually really good. I don't know that we
And get our results back. We know we're gonna get one little minor finding,
Very
and it
minor.
had to do with basically, I talk about those parent policies and family engagement policies, we'll call them, and we update them every year. We got cited for one spot, we didn't put it on our board policy when it was last met, we didn't put the date in there. That was our one little minor finding, and they looked, because Mr. T was a new superintendent, they took the time to do a full-scale, in-depth they call it monitoring, but it's really an audit. And to have that one little minor thing, it's not me alone, no, it's the help of, Mr. Blaze, the Valley, and our Title I teachers. Brandy, Mrs. Smith in her office and her staff, keeping the book straight. We don't have that. We could get ourselves some major headaches, and thankfully the monitors were very pleased.
Yep, it's a collective effort and we passed. So.
Great, thank you very much.
And I'll just update you, Site Logic wasn't quite finished with their utility and operational costs for the two schools. They're also looking at savings if you go down to one. So that report will be coming soon. They're just not quite done with it.
All right, we'll move on to the reading of the minutes. This is approval of the June 11th, 2022. Yep, 2024. I went back in time. 2024. What do you want to go back to that?
Looking forward.
Yeah, June 11th, 2024. Take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any comments? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed. All right, we don't have any prior presentations. All right, section, public comments. Public comment section for this evening. Again, this is for taxpayers in the community. You talk on official actions or concerns and matters within the district.
Jack Callahan, 113 Arch Street, Toursville. Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of the awards winners from the graduation. I didn't see it in the newspaper. It wasn't in when they listed the graduates.
They did do this. Mr. Johnson, can you
Yeah,
explain?
there was an error in reporting the initial one, and they didn't include the awards, so we reached out to them, they ran a separate edition just for us.
All right, I'd like to see, I'd like a copy of the,
Yeah, it was
Tuesday
a
or
whole
Thursday.
page.
Yeah, it was a whole.
It was like a
I,
whole page.
I didn't
Jack.
see it. I'd like a copy of the awards winners.
I can definitely get you a copy of that, but if I can get you a copy of that article as well.
Yeah, that would be fine. When I was in school, we had 9 awards. And, one guy got 3 awards and another person got 2 awards. That left 4 awards for everybody else, so. And now these awards over here, I guess it's, 100 awards or whatever it is, that's fine. I mean, hey, we can't turn down money or, whatever, certificates or whatever. And, I just like to see, and if I could compliment, some of the award winners, I would. So I'll be over to school sometime, whatever.
We'll get it around here.
Yep, all right.
Hi, Paul Rinker, 1102 Chestnut Street. I came here to talk about the budget and the interesting stuff I saw in the paper. One quote says, "I don't want to raise the taxes, but I don't know what else to do." Something like that. It seems obvious to me the alternative to raising taxes is to spend less money. And Mrs. Oberheim's question about curriculum brought up one way you can do that. Stop buying curriculum. You got 4 buildings full of teachers, been to college, been trained to educate. Those are the people who come up with curriculum. I'm not a trained educator, and I've had to develop curriculum. It's not some magical thing that only giant corporations can do. Why are we wasting taxpayer money when we have people who can do it? And we need to go through that entire budget and look for things that we're paying people for that we don't need to pay them for. We don't need to take anything away from the students. Utah spends half per student what Pennsylvania does. And they have a better education system. And they're not ignoring sports. Utah's nuts about sports. They're not denying those kids anything, but they do it for half the price. What are we doing wrong? I know that some of that is state mandates, and you should be fighting them. You weren't elected to sit here and vote yes to everything. If that's what you're elected for, you would need to be here. Anybody can say yes to anything. And I know you passed the budget with the tax increase, but that doesn't mean you should stop looking at it. You do not have to spend all that money. You should start saving now what you can and look forward to next year so you don't have to do that. Who knows, maybe you could be the first school district in recent history anyway, to actually cut taxes. Imagine the press you'd get if you did that. And imagine the attaboys you'd get from the citizens. Think about that. I know I'd appreciate it. And I'm an average guy, so all the other average guys out there would appreciate it. Thank you.
Ron Snell, Lower Manor Road. I don't know if all the new board members are aware or not, but after a budget's passed, you can go in and relook at that budget and you can lower the amount of expenses. So I'd like to know when the state's budget is passed and this district gets an excess amount over the 3% that budget was figured out for state funding. Is this board going to relook at that budget and change that tax increase? That's all I got.
All right, seeing no one else in the room, we'll go to Zoom. If you were interested in making a comment, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report for this evening, and tonight we'll start on this side.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
It's summer, so, you know, we're in planning mode and, we're content schedules and finishing up interviews and kind of secure some spots and some folks we need in some positions, but I also want to take this time to also introduce, make sure that we recognize Susan for jumping in, starting here this July. This is a principal in high school. We're excited to have her on board, and she's already hit the ground running. So I'm appreciative of her, and looking forward to what that's going to be like for us together. And then she'll share a little bit more, but about some of the stuff going on. We're in summer class mode with CSS and online courses, and securing some things with dual enrollment next year, and it's kind of in the planning phase and getting anxious and ready to go.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hanner.
Yeah, we are working towards starting the training for our teachers for the upcoming school year. Tomorrow, we start off with our QBS training with the first round. We'll do 3 rounds for staff to be recertified in de-escalation strategies and physical management techniques. And then right before the school year starts, we have a 2-day training for new staff that are going to be trained initially on the QBS. So that's kind of what's going on in the special ed department.
Right, very good. Sebastian, how are we doing?
So good.
You trimmed your beard. I don't know how I feel.
That's new.
It'll be back. Did you lose a bet or something?
Summer.
This summer, yeah, I gotta keep your.
Summer, you gotta take the weight off. Don't make it too hot.
All right, Mrs. Albert.
We're busy working on schedules for the middle school. Custodians are busy cleaning the buildings and getting them ready for their bills and away, trying to already get ready for the school.
All right. Mr. Knopfler. Mr. Blades.
Same boat, planning phase, just trying to make everybody outside this get ready for next year and make sure we're ready to go. And all we got.
No. Mrs. Watt.
So we had several students that they qualified, they actually had 4 qualified for FBLA Nationals. That was last month. One of the students was not able to attend due to illness, but Jimmy Messina, Shaw Simpson, and Andrew Truman did go, did their sales presentation. Didn't finish in the top 10, but really did well and had a great time. when the Kaiser supervised their trip, and she seemed to be in pretty good spirits about it.
That's great they made it that far. That's fantastic. Mr. Myers.
Just want to reiterate what Mrs. Albert said about, what's going on at the building, we're playing in the planning phase with, scheduling. That's going on really well. I don't want to take too much of your house next, fire there, but we have, our softball girls are doing really well right now. Their sectionals going on right now. A lot of kids doing well with Little League and so forth. So really pleased on what our kids are doing outside of school this time. So it's great to see, them do that, and as well football is coming up, so we're fired up about that. All is well at the fall.
Very good. Farrar.
I talked quite a bit tonight.
Good stuff.
But no, on the other end, same thing as the other principals mentioned, getting the building, wrapping up reports and everything for last year, getting things ready, schedules and, looking at preparations for next year, get some staff, of course, changing places and the new staff starting. So, we got to finalize one of those here in the next few weeks and get ready for the new year.
Very good. Mr. Key?
Nothing to add.
All right, very well. Thanks for the updates, everybody. We'll move on to the general agenda items. If everyone's okay, I think we're good to combine 6.1 through 6.5. Take a minute, glance at those, and I'll take a motion to approve when you're ready.
So I do have questions on 6.1 and 6.5. Not the other ones. Do I need to separate them out and ask the questions, or can we just, okay, that's what I thought. All right, then combined, right? I didn't think we did, but just.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Second. All right, Mrs. Meyer.
All right, on 6.1, my question was, why did our commercial property insurance go up so much? Because it went from,
Primarily livestock, yeah.
okay, because it's like a 20, almost, it's a $30,000 increase. And so that's primarily just for that building. Okay.
I tried to shop it, nobody wants it.
Okay, that's right. Overall, in general, insurance is up right now. No, I
The
get that.
cost
I
of-
just went through it with
Cost
the.
of
you.
replacement is up because materials are up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, yeah, I got that. We just went through a presentation with another.
Nobody
board
wants
on
that because of
everything.
the fire suppression system that's not in it and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right? So we really
the
don't have any other option. So.
So and that's what I was just gonna say, and I realized that it's going to go up because everything goes up. Yeah, but it was pretty significant, so I just wanted to clarify. I had a feeling it was that, but I just wanted to make sure. So I guess my question on that is that it's the fire suppressant, right? Mostly because we don't have sprinklers over in there. Okay. That was my question on that. And then my other question was on 6.5. Within that contract, if you go down, my questions were when it said there were, I just want to make sure I get the right verbiage here. I have my notes right now. When it says identified following significant risks. It says management overrides of controls and improper revenue recognition due to fraud. What are these? Are these in reference to anything in particular we did, or is it something that they just normally put in the contract?
It's their standard letter that we get every year. Like those are things that they look for.
Okay, so that's why it said we have identified the following significant risk of material misstatement as part of our audit planning.
Yeah,
So-
that they do that. If they do that, they report it. What page are you on in that?
I'm on page 3. Because it
So
sounds
we're-
like it's in present time, because it says planning has not concluded and modifications may be made to the significant risk identified. So it's saying that they identified significant risks. You see what I'm saying? We have identified. So it's in the past, not future. The following risk of material. Do you see what I'm saying? That doesn't, that's not like a contract that, yeah, exactly.
Someone saying that, yeah.
Right, so that's,
Proper revenue recognition due to fraud.
I don't think it's in regards to our audit, something that's always in there.
Or they're just saying. it's
It says, the
There's
paragraph
specific
prior
risks
to that
involved.
says, our procedures will include tests of documentary evidence supporting the transactions reported in the accounts. Tests of physical existence of inventory and direct confirmation of receivables and certain asset and liabilities by correspondence with selected individuals, funding sources, creditors, and financial institutions. We will also request written representations from your attorneys as part of the engagement.
yes, that's all in future tense.
Yeah.
This is
We
written,
have-
we have
Yeah,
identified.
that's what I'm going to. We have identified the following significant risk of material misstatements as part of our audit planning, management override controls, improper revenue recognition due to fraud. Planning has not concluded and modifications may be made to the significant risks identified.
Correct.
This may be due to a prior incident that was at the high school back a few years.
Student
What,
activity account.
with student activity accounts back prior to COVID.
Isn't this an annual audit thing?
This is an annual audit, but it might be just, they haven't done an audit yet. This is their engagement letter
Right.
Okay.
to come in and do the services.
Gotcha.
Right.
So they're looking.
So they may be saying like, that's part of what they look at, because
We've
now,
been looking at that since it happened. We had,
I guess my question
We
is,
had
is
revenue
it something
reported-
that's continual, like, you know what I mean? Because it's identified as significant risks. And so I guess my question on that is when it's management override of controls, what are they referring to? And improper revenue recognition due to fraud, what are they referring
so
to?
it's student activity accounts where revenue was, it wasn't even recorded, it was
I don't-
handcrafted, scrapbooking type thing. And then the money was taken. That's been through the court system and concluded, but they've looked at it every year since it happened.
and
And that person also overrode the, I don't know why they call it management control. She false reported. She handed out reports from the system that was fake.
Okay.
and since then, the high school no longer handles the activity fund accounts.
It's been moved to
That's-
the district office staff, and again, they've looked at it every single year to clean up that process.
And instead of, secretaries having the ability to sign the checks, they no longer have the ability to sign the checks. That has also been changed. If you remember, we approved the, signatures at the last board meeting for the accounts,
Mhm.
and only administrators are on that list now. And Mr. T and myself, tend to sign all activity fund account checks now. We're both available and they're dual signature,
Okay.
so that we can both review them and make sure they're okay. Versus having them done at the beginning level any longer. I can ask Randy exactly what he's talking about in there. But this is their standard letter that we get almost every year. It changed a little bit with COVID because other things went in and they update their pricing every year.
Do we normally sign a 3-year contract with them?
Last time that we did one, it was a 5-year. They wouldn't go a 5-year this year. No one would go a 5-year. We put an RFP out and they were the only ones that bid on it. This is 6.5 is just the engagement letter.
No, I know, that was the one
Okay.
I had read to, the other one was their fees, so it sort of fell into that same thing, but I was just curious as to what that was referring to. And just making sure.
Yeah, it has to be something from the past because they've looked at nothing
They haven't
for the
touched it.
23-24 school year.
Okay,
Until this
can't.
is passed, they can't.
okay, so. it
They
would
can't
be-
come in until we
So
can
it's-
schedule anything.
From a previous audit, and the only fraud that was in that was the student activity accounts.
Okay,
They flagged some things on ESSER, but it wasn't fraudulent. It
that's what I
was
was gonna ask.
process and
I was
procedure.
asking if that was. in
It
part of
had nothing to
too.
do with that.
Okay.
We received the money was spent correctly. We just received all of it all at once.
Right,
Instead of it being reimbursable, which was not fraudulent.
that was it on my 6.1 through 6.5, thank you.
I want to give a shout out 6.4 to the class of 74 for the idea of planting the tree, their 50th anniversary or their 50th. Whatever it's called, reunion.
Reunion.
I think that's great. I look forward to seeing that though. All right, hearing nothing else, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Okay, very well, moving on to section 7, personnel. 7.1, approval of the following additional change to the coaching staff for 2024-2025 school year. That is the addition of Nicole Casal for Alice. Take a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve.
Second. Questions, comments? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, 7.2, this is discussion item, non-voting. Discussion item, the grade level curriculum advisor. This is a kind of us exploring options besides getting a curriculum coordinator. Something, Mr. Rinker, that you'd mentioned when you got up there at the table, potentially utilizing the faculty and their abilities as a curriculum coordinator versus hiring one. So just an opportunity for us to kind of discuss that topic a little bit as we move forward.
So, this was something that was brought to me, and I think it's something that would serve the district well. By having different curriculum coordinators per specific, like, grade level, so different 4 levels. So let's say K through 2, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and I'm not married to the differentiation, but you put them in buckets, and it would be a teacher, and the teacher would receive a stipend in addition to that role. So it would be a curriculum coordinator, right? So same roles, responsibilities. So doing things as in services, also going above and beyond and doing different trainings, helping to work with the teachers as far as developing curriculum. So in general would have that same descriptor as a curriculum coordinator, just be more grade level specific. And then those 4 would also be able to meet in between each other to make sure that the curriculums are also flowing together, right? So it's more specialized because if you have a teacher who's in K through 2, they're focusing on different things. I think it would also help if, depending on what we do with schools, if we have 2 schools and we have 1 school, it would also help get a continuity a little bit between the schools by having someone that's more grade specific. I think also the inclusion of 5th into that 3rd, 4th, 5th would help a lot because as they go up into middle school, they are still technically elementary kids. We just have them housed in that world. So to help that continuity as well. And also when you're preparing them to go over and sort of keep the communications between the middle school, not saying that you all don't do it, but from a curriculum standpoint together. But the other nice thing about that is, there's a lot of teachers and they love teaching, but they want to do more, but they don't necessarily want to become administrators. This offers them an opportunity to develop more in their career. I think this would be something that would be a real benefit in drawing good teachers into the district so that they would be able to go a little bit above and beyond what they're doing, but not necessarily into administration, right? So you have that going for us. We're giving back to our teachers, and would end up costing us a lot less than hiring an entirety of one person as a curriculum coordinator at a fairly significant price. You save on the benefits, so you won't have an additional person to pay benefits for. But I think it's really, it's more customized. But I think it's a nice solution and it adds a little bit something, you know, motivation even for some teachers if they want to go and, you know, do more with curriculum, you know, so it offers them that opportunity. So I sent this all out in an email. It was probably better worded than that. So at least you all have the background.
It was shorter.
It wasn't really.
No, it wasn't. It's a good job
Yeah,
tonight.
it wasn't.
That's timing you under 5 minutes.
There's a lot there.
So since curriculum isn't an ongoing job, you know what I mean? Like you work on it at some point more than others, and sometimes not at all. Like he said, the last time the reading curriculum was worked on was 6 years ago. So yeah, you could be working on it for 2 to 3 of those years. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. But when they're not working on it, who keeps track of that? Are they still going to be getting
Well,
the
no, they'd be
stipend?
doing in-services. So when you have in-service days, they're helping to develop those in-services around that grade level, right? So you're also, as part of a curriculum career, you're not just developing curriculum, right? So
No.
you're working to making sure it's like cohesive in between the classes, right? So each year you do something a little different new, like it's like it later will go with like the chickens and the frogs and the, you know, the little animals and stuff, and it's having those cohesive. It's meeting with the teachers, and one year you may be looking at curriculum for reading, the next year you may be looking at curriculum for math. But it's also working with the curriculum you already have. How can you make that work for you, right? So, and how do you make that cohesive? So it really is like that coordination, making sure also like educationally that they're up to date with state requirements, right? That changes all the time. So there may be different requirements for within those grades, making sure that everything's up to date with standardized testing. So there's sort of an administrative burden a little bit on curriculum. And I think it would just make our teachers better too, to be honest with you. You have that person. There's a lot more to it than just like
Yeah.
that, right? So it's all the duties of a curriculum director, right? So it's all those duties, just not spread across the entirety of the school. Because think about that, I mean, you may have that person up there, but they're still working with those teacher groups, right? So you have a teacher who's still working with those teacher groups to pilot and get input and stuff. It's just closer to home. So I think it's more personalized, right? So I think, I don't think it's a position that ever goes away because everything's always changing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm
Curriculum's
not
always-
anti the idea, but reflecting back to when I was not on the school board and there were meetings where we would sit at home and Mr. Taramina was doing the job of the superintendent, and let's be honest, that was the case. The assistant superintendent, which I always said that we didn't need, and then I'm not afraid to say that that was the case.
We're on record.
Yeah, oh, we are on record. yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
It's on video. So you can't take it back anymore.
Yeah, so I'm going back on record. Anyway, and then curriculum coordinator was
Yes.
added. So,
Because we
Pretty-
wanted a curriculum coordinator.
yeah,
Yeah.
but pretty much Mr. Taramina was wearing all of those hats, all three.
Right.
So that being said, at this current time, he has said, you know, like it's possible that he could still keep an eye on the curriculum, also work with some teachers if they had some input. But since we're trying to save and we do have the building projects coming up, not that this idea is a bad idea. Anything we save, I think right now is good, and Mr. Taramina is taking that on at this current time. So that's my thought.
You've never had a curriculum coordinator, right?
Yeah,
We have.
Oh, we have.
Yeah, we
So we've been how long without one?
6 years. So
But
probably
there's
when
a
they're
lot of
7
time.
years.
Yeah.
When was Kim?
Have you seen
Is it
it?
8 or?
Going
on 8.
Oh,
I think we're
probably when
going
you
8.
came, when he was doing the assistant superintendent, it was 7 years. So you're
I
right.
had to bring it up because it was just,
So did the
No.
kids' education suffer during that because of a lack of a curriculum?
We have
director?
some issues, but then you have COVID in there that created.
Yeah.
We sat around this table and said there wasn't learning loss. I have iReady data that pinpoints there was learning loss in math. So I'm certain there was some in reading. You can't lose that amount of time and not lose
Right.
some level. Now in math, I have the data that shows we've caught up, and I'll provide that to you here in August, at the August meeting. So we made some gains in math, but reading, we're coming up to the end of a program. The state has mandated structured literacy. What's scary is they're going to start mandating particular curriculums.
That's why.
They haven't taken that step yet. That worries me.
Hmm.
When the state starts to get involved at that level. Those are local decisions, in my opinion. That's up to the teachers, administrators, and ultimately the school board to make those final decisions. So we're coming up to the end of Wonders. Structured lit is in place, and we haven't pivoted enough to meet that need. So something's got to be done there, and teachers will be involved whether you do this, whether you hire a curriculum director or do nothing. It's going to be more than 4 people involved in that process. It has to be.
Absolutely.
They're going to pilot it for us. That's been very successful. We're going to have a science issue coming up in elementary because the steel standards are in place. Middle school is going to be okay. We can't find the time if you implement it right. Well, I see him over there going.
He was so proud for like 6 seconds.
We don't currently have the time in the schedule to be able to handle science like we do. What science looks like is what the teachers want to teach. And that's not a good place to be. I know it was said tonight, you let them run with it and develop their curriculum, but you can't have teacher A doing this and teacher B doing this and teacher C doing something else. It's got to be a combined and collaborative effort. And that's something we have been missing here because of the lack of a curriculum coordinators, that communication, not just amongst grade level, but also vertically as well, and from school to school. We had a lot of success in science because the science departments in the middle school and high school were willing to put the time in. They got together and we fixed some things in that department. We're in pretty good shape now, especially that transition from 8th to 9th grade. I would welcome the help, of course, to have people to go and do this. We're also ready to go live with our public link for curriculum mapping, so parents and community have a better idea of what we're doing. So we are doing things and making strides and moving to where we need to be. It's just going to take a little more time without people involved in helping with that.
Well, that's, I was just gonna say, and that's the big thing, is that, yeah, you can say, Dan, but he has like 500 other things on his plate right now, as we see from, different things. So I think having people, and like I said, doing this, we can say it saves a considerable amount of money. But also satisfies the need of being able to have people that are watching the curriculum or watching all this state stuff. Because I mean, it's not just like, I would love that you can just do something in the room and just do it, but there's all these other rules and regulations and things that we have to report back to the state that you sort of need some people in place. And I think this is a good, it's a good compromise.
I also believe that he has a good handle on what the state is doing, so I don't think that we need to actually pay teachers right now to keep an eye on the state, because Mr. Terramita can usually answer our questions about what the state is doing.
Too.
Yeah,
What my question is, how many people are you thinking need to replace one person? You're thinking like 5 people? And then what?
You had
I have four, I have four.
The stipend be.
That's
That's
the
How much is
discussion.
it gonna cost for the training in order for them to do the?
You'd be surprised, there's some already that have certain degrees within curriculum already that you could place into those roles. So it's not, it's not.
Interesting.
Right, and then that's what I'm saying, it's like, you put it out there and see if you have people interested in doing the position. But I really feel, I mean, I've said for years that we need somebody as a curriculum coordinator. I just I don't like the price tag on a curriculum coordinator right now. And this seems to be, and I also like this idea, to be honest with you. I think I think it allows, and I've said this like 5 times, the continuity between the grades. It's more, because when you get one curriculum coordinator for all 12 grades, then you're still pushing down onto teachers and everything like that, doing it anyway. And so some of that high level stuff, Dan sort of, Mr. Termino's done for a little bit, so, a little bit of the high level.
I'm not
stuff is
disagreeing with you on it. I mean.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just-
no, no, I
you
don't
know,
think
the
you are.
cost
I'm
and
just
everything
trying
that goes into it and. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be cheaper than what having one person. That's.
Right, plus you
You know
also
what I
have
mean?
to add in the benefits and the pensions
Yeah.
and everything that go with that one person, where you already have these teachers in play.
It sounds like a great idea, but I'm not an educator, so from an educator standpoint, does it work? Educators, would it work?
I get concerned when you get in the upper grades, because you start to get so specialized. To have one person,
Well, that's why I said I'm not married
Yeah.
to the,
I think when you get to the upper grades, if you start paying your hourly rate for curriculum work, because if you're stipending these K2, 3, 5, 6, 8 starts to get a little specialized. I want to know how many days are they committing? How many extra hours is this going to be? What summertime are they committing to this? And
Oh,
then what are their responsibilities? Because when you look at that job description for curriculum director, there was more there than just curriculum. So I guess we can I would want to see a job description. for this.
absolutely, that's, I
So you
completely
pull
agree
out
with
all the
that.
curriculum stuff from
Is there
there.
any other school districts that are handling it the same direction that you're talking, or?
They have different, there are coaches. Williamsport has instructional coaches, which do this type of thing. But what's great about those, they're not in an assigned a classroom. They work with teachers individually and work to develop curriculum. So
That's
it's,
but then the instructional coaches though are also more toward teaching style, you know what I mean? More on,
Well, it depends how they're defined.
right,
And Delvin, I've experienced both doing and working with instructional coaches as a teacher. And that really, the instructional coach component depends largely on the person that wants to be that coach and what
Right.
the district agenda is. I think Dan was really pinpointed really well. Once you start moving up in grades, the breadth of that information that's required to understand, know, and work with becomes pretty alarming very, very quickly for one person covering the band. I would echo the same concern. In theory, it's great. The time that will pull a teacher from a classroom to do it right is my concern. I did technology coaching for 1 year on an interim basis as a teacher. And very quickly that turned into, you're gonna do it the full next year. We're gonna put a teacher in the room for a year.
right,
It couldn't be done right.
yeah,
And we're gonna invest time and effort and energy and training and everything else attached to that. I don't want to shortchange the effort and the potential output of that by doing it the wrong way.
right.
So I think in theory, it just needs a lot of fine details worked out if this is a route that the district would like to go. Because it can be a hard experience. It can create dissension within staff because they become pseudo-evaluatory. When they're working with a teacher in the curriculum, you can find some communication issues. There's a lot of layers to it that make it challenging. It's definitely worth the conversation, but there's a lot of conversation that have to go into it. That's my picture of that.
Well, and other than curriculum, Dan had mentioned there's a list of other things that the curriculum coordinator would do, and obviously we don't have those right now either. So just not,
Yeah, what's in that, even if you look in the job description.
yeah, I'd have to look over it, but right
Yeah.
now,
But
who's
yeah, we're
doing
just
those
discussing.
things? Yeah.
That's just.
No, I was just wondering who's
Yeah.
doing those things right now. Yeah.
Federal programs, Darren and spread amongst. Well, your staff's involved in all of this. Because there's money in all of it, so your staff has to be involved. But yeah, we're managing it.
So there's an added benefit that I didn't think of until you just said that, but that's taking the load off of like Mr. Farrar and his.
Not that program you would necessarily. That's regular.
No, federal programs would
That
stay.
has nothing to do with
It would
curriculum.
stay.
That's-
That would stay with
Well,
the
I'm
administrator.
sorry, I thought I heard that as that would be, that person, the curriculum coordinator would be doing those.
No,
Hired a
if we hired a curriculum director,
Right, that's
these
what I mean.
folks wouldn't.
No, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So having an actual curriculum director would benefit the faculty that way. It might take a little bit of weight off their shoulders.
Well, it's
too.
a nice thought, but. That's not what we're looking to do.
Take weight off their shoulders.
Yeah, I mean,
Why would we not want to do that?
well, if we're all handling it and we're getting paid to do it right now and we're doing a good job and we have the time, then why would we spread it out more? So that we have to have more positions? Do you understand what I'm saying? If we're thinking of the,
No, I think maybe I misspoke in the beginning. I was looking at it as, and I'm open to explore either options more.
yeah,
I think that's a good idea. I definitely do, but I do think there's some benefits of having one individual that's their primary objective is handling curriculum. My thought is it's taking some of the weight off of Mr. Farrar's shoulders, Mr. Blaze, there's other folks that are carrying Mr. Tarnia, who does 10 people's worth of work throughout the week. They're just taking the weight off them, so then they can focus on what needs to be focused on, but maybe he's not getting the attention. That's just kind of my thought process. My other concern would be, just as it's overloading these folks not having a curriculum director, if we're now tasking 6 to 8 other teachers to take that on, is that gonna overload them? And then we're gonna be risk of burnout at some point. They're gonna say, I can't, I'm out. This is just too much. And now we're back to square one. Again, not against the idea, but I think exploring the option of it, taking a deeper dive into it's a smart move. Yeah,
I did my talking on that.
that's why I don't talk a lot. Everyone just shuts up after.
Speech back there.
That's it.
the power of the gavel.
Yeah. So takeaways, I guess, Mr. T, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'd certainly welcome the help with curriculum. We do need. You may not want to hear this, but some money, and if it's on teachers, that's fine. Some money needs to be spent so that people are working on the curriculum. Whether that's stipend or the hourly rate, and we cap that. We can certainly use the dollars that are budgeted, and not all of it. I would not recommend spending. I think that curriculum director was 120,000 plus benefits. I forget what it landed at in the budget. Which we don't need the exact number, but I certainly wouldn't spend that kind of money on this. But to have the ability to spend some of it in getting teachers engaged with this type of activity would be beneficial in the district. We used to do many years ago curriculum work in the summer. And I can't remember the last time that's happened here in the district, so. It would be helpful, and we have this Atlas curriculum mapping software that the elementary haven't done yet because they've been implementing math. I don't want to task them with implementing a new math program and working with Atlas. At some point, that has to be done at the elementary level. We need to see what standards we're missing in our current curriculum, so. That's where that structure in the elementary would be helpful. So we can keep exploring. We'll throw some ideas out at our admin meetings and maybe come back with some kind of proposal for you to look at. That sound like a
Sounds great.
plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's gauge some interest and some thoughts.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Good conversation,
you.
folks. Thanks. All right, moving on to the committee reports.
Hey, Mr. VP, back.
What's up? PSBA, Mrs. Overheim?
Last year, the Pennsylvania state budget negotiations passed, the June 30th deadline, which is the end of the fiscal year. Obviously, today is July 9th and lawmakers, have cruised by the deadline again this year without a deal in place. Shapiro administration is allocating $3.5 million to expand access to gifted education in Pennsylvania. Each intermediate unit, including the Blast IU-17, will receive approximately $135,000 over a 5-year grant period to act as a training center for their region. However, the givers of the money do not only desire to help support school districts better identify and provide services to gifted students, period. The specific reason mentioned for the money being given is a severe underrepresentation of minorities in gifted education. PGEI will be the provider of the training hub, so they called it, will allow teachers to use culturally responsive tools to identify potential in students that are underrepresented in gifted education, along with providing support and training to families. So, does anyone know what the PGEI training people are or do?
Nope.
Me neither, but I found it very like, just give them the money and, let them use it for what they need it for, but they were very specific, so, as usual,
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah.
Policy Committee, Mrs. McCoy?
We are Mr. Termino and I are working on establishing some specific policies in coordination with Title IX that, revisions are going to go into effect the 1st of August. And I don't know if copies of the policies have been sent out yet. I haven't seen them, but copies of the policies are going to be sent to each of the board members to be reviewed between now and our next meeting. It will be on the agenda for August. I'd like to hopefully have the first reading waived and have discussion on that and pass 2 of the 3 policies that we're looking at. One policy specifically has to do with no boys playing girls sports. And there's another policy that has to do with registration. And this deals with the sex that the child is registered at when they come into kindergarten. That sex follows them all the way through. So that gives our teachers the basis to be able to specify them and call them what their registered sex is, and not have to get caught up into calling them extra pronouns and What if you have names a that, transfer student? what,
What if you have a transfer student?
they still have a registration at kindergarten wherever they were.
It follows you, doesn't it?
But what if that's, okay. It follows all the way through from registration pre-kindergarten. And then just an update on all of that. There has been a 3rd federal judge that has ruled to block the revisions that have been added in interpretations for Title IX that are going to affect the 1st of August by the administration. And this latest preliminary injunction covers Kansas. It came out of the U.S. District Court of Kansas, but it covers the states of Alaska and Utah and Wyoming and Virginia and West Virginia, Tennessee and Kentucky. But generally, it sort of blankets the whole country. And I know, I think there's a thought in some districts to kind of just sit back and wait and see what happens. But I think I'd like to have policies in place so that we have something to stand on in case something happens in our specific district, that we have those policies in place to give us standing and support what our own philosophy is in our own district. And, that's kind of what I've been working on.
I support you 100%.
Yeah, thank you
Seriously,
for all the
these
work
Title IX changes are a form of reverse discrimination, which are against our disciplinary policy. So to entertain them, we're going against our own policy. We're stewards of taxpayers' money, so to introduce our district to Title IX changes, we're only introducing ourselves to personal injury, negligence, and constitutional lawsuits. If somebody does make a complaint, it takes up to 6 months to hear it. Then there's a 6 to 9 months investigation, and then DOJ can settle on it. By the time this all happens, there's going to be a line of 1,000 school districts behind. Okay, so for us to adopt these changes or to entertain them, we look like a bunch of fools. Okay, and I'll say that we all look like a bunch of fools if we're going to go along with these changes. Okay, it's socialist propaganda. Okay, sorry I said it, but it is what it is.
And on the other side of that, you know, Title IX was enacted into law 50 years ago. And women have made incredible strides in sports, being able to compete on their own level and have access to quality equipment, quality fields, all that type of thing. And I don't know, there's like 700 pages of this these policy changes with a stroke of the pen. They're just going to throw that all out the window. And we have to look at it from the standpoint of jeopardizing our girls. And I think we need to take that into account and be able to be willing to stand up and protect our girls.
I was just gonna say that. That's exactly what I was gonna say. That with the stroke of the pen, Title IX sort of wiped out, and that all the strides, to your point, that have been made went backwards. So thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Our girls appreciate it.
And it's not only just in sports, but it has kind
Oh,
of
no,
infiltrated into
oh,
all
totally
areas
aware.
of society. And, you know, with the stroke of a pen, it's going to be destroyed. And we just, you know, if we can, even in our school district, if we can stand and prevent that from happening, I think that's a great statement for our district and our girls.
And I did send those out. There were one was from Southside Beaver and the other was from Red Lion. Those were sent to you. They're not in our format yet. That's why it's gonna happen in August, because it's gonna take me some time to get those over. You'll also see a bunch of the 300, I've mentioned this before, the 300, 400, and 500 policies were getting combined all into the 300s and to match some contracts that were, or a contract that was recently passed. So you're going to see a bunch of retirements and reclassifications of some policies at that meeting. And then you also wanted to discuss some policies, so.
Tonight, Title IX, cell phone, curriculum. So I just want to discuss, I know we have a cell phone policy where, you know, the kids aren't supposed to have them out at class, they're technically supposed to have them in backpacks. And I know I have brought this up before, but I think on that side, I don't know if I've done it on this side yet. But I would like for us to consider having a complete ban of cell phones, especially elementary, middle school, and high school. I'd like us to at least, and I know the kids sneak them in everywhere. And I feel bad because teachers spend more time policing that than anything. And so I'd like to have a system in which either we have lockers, and if you want to bring your school cell phone to school, then you pay to have a locker space. And you put it in there in the beginning of the school day and you take it out at the end of the school day. There are certain districts, I mean, you could actually possibly end up making money on that. Because I know there's the conversation of, I want my kids to have their phone.
There's also, and I know we talked about the shoe thing, but in talking to some other teachers in other districts and lands far away and much bigger school districts, they actually use the shoe thing. They put a number on it and each kid at the beginning of the school year has a number. Now, here's the caveat with this one, though. If it's not in there, you're not technically in class. Or you get a Swiss, or you get a detention. Now, if you don't have a cell phone, so my kids do not, then you have a written note from the parents saying my child does not have a cell phone, or my child will not bring your cell phone to school, right? And if they get caught with a cell phone in school because somebody lied, then, you know, there's disciplinary action attached to that. I don't know if any of you, I was gonna say, I've just watched like kids not engage and kids not talk to each other. And we talk about mental health and we talk about all these things and the effects of social media. If anyone hasn't read it, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt is an amazing book. I suggest he does a lot of talks too. Looking at him, and looking at some of his stuff and some of the impacts that the smartphones have had upon our kids. And I just really feel like if we're talking about their education and we're putting all this emphasis on mental health, a lot of it is from that. I think we've talked about bullying. A lot of that happens in cyber. It's easy to be a keyboard bully. You know, and I just, there's no need for them. And I know you hear the argument of school shootings, right? Well, no offense, but those kids should probably be paying attention to their administrators, their teachers on what exactly to do than worrying about videotaping them. Probably not, you know, I mean, some people aren't gonna like that as a whole conversation, but I just feel that they have enough technology. They have now their Chromebooks where they can get stuff for school on the internet via that way. There's no need for the phone. And for the shoe thing, even when they go to the bathroom, you can't take that phone out of there. Take it at the end of class. So I mean, there's, you know, there's multiple ways to do it. I know middle school and high school kids tend to have phones. So that's where I look at the lockers, but I think at elementary, there's no reason you have a locker or whatever. If there's no watches.
But
my
not been a
thing-
big issue.
No, you guys, not as, I know, lots
For
big.
us.
Yeah, luckily, it's more middle school and high school. But like I said, we could look at doing lockers, I mean, and getting those, and I think in the end, you know, with the amount of kids, you pay a stipend, you could generate revenue from it or do the shipping, but I just wish we could have a more strict cell phone policy for our kids. I think they're a huge distraction. I mean, I can't tell you how many pictures I've seen of classrooms from kids because they stuff it down their pants. And they take pictures and they're videotaping and then they take it to the bathrooms and.
What's the district's experience with having that policy? I know at one point you guys have told them to keep their cell phones in their lockers, but I'm sure that doesn't happen. I think detention is a good,
You would deal with
solution
that
there.
all day, and then the parents get very nasty if you start handing out discipline over that phone. They paid for it, it's theirs, their kid, I was child line for the whole mask, I hate to bring it up, but I was child line for the mask thing. I can't imagine our parents accepting the school district or any government entity telling them you can't have a phone. When we've hired guards because of the possibility of, because that's what they always fall on, the possibility of a school shooting, so.
We hired our
It's
security.
gonna create, tremendous issues. The addiction that some kids have to these devices
Exactly, and that's why.
is unbelievable.
I think
Give them an
initially,
AM for break.
I think initially be bad, like it would be bad, like the
It would
reaction
be
to it, but
ugly
eventually
scene for our administrators.
maybe we can get through the first
Well,
month
and
or
if
whatever,
the
but
parents can get a hold of, they can get a watch.
that's what I understand.
I mean, no
Like
offense,
after school
I have a
hours?
14-year-old who does not have a smartphone. And believe it, we make it through. And maybe the addiction can be broken. I'd like to think that maybe we can help our kids out. And not create the generation that's like.
Every parent I talk to says they don't want to have their
Right.
kids phones in school. You know
Well,
what I
then
mean?
Are we gonna
that
make it
starts at
harder
home
for
too.
your
So,
mom to do
exactly.
their
We're making it more
That's-
attractive to this district if we
that's
would
the problem.
implement something like that, honestly.
Give them an 8-hour break.
Right, but it becomes our administrator's job to do what the parents should be doing. And
That's-
it is a good idea, but the parents don't believe it is, and then we're taking on that responsibility and saying, well, parents, we're gonna do it for you. And
That's why I said the over the shoe thing, right? So you put it in, if it doesn't go in there, at least you got them for the entirety of the class, right? You got them like in between periods, which.
And you might as well go with the energy drink.
It's not like we're saying you can't bring your
I
phone to
like,
school.
right, this is why I go to the locker thing, is that you have those lockers in front, if you want your kid to bring their phone to school, so I'm not telling them you can't lock it in the school, but it has to stay at the front door and go in a locker, and they can get it on the way out. They need it for some reason to call mom and dad in between, they have their key, but if it gets seen in the classroom, then there's disciplinary. But I mean, I'm just saying that they, honestly, these kids need a break and they need to be kids again. It's sad.
And school should be a safe place and safe from that. It's a huge distraction, I'm sure the teachers also.
But then again, the disciplinary actions are up against each teacher. Everybody's different. It seems to me, from what I hear, each teacher has their own little idea of how kids should behave in class and treat them that way.
But that's been that way
Well,
since the beginning of
It
time.
has been that way since the beginning of time, okay? But there should be a set standard
Well,
for every
that's what I-
teacher to follow.
And
I
that's
mean,
what I'm
it
saying,
goes
that
the same thing with
stick 'em
everything
in the
else.
locker and then the teacher doesn't have to do
I
it.
just think that it's,
I'm fine with that.
you know, you have to start at home, to the parents saying, hey, you're not gonna take your phone to school. If you need to call me, go down to the office, make a phone call.
Well, all
They should-
teachers have phone.
Our
Listen,
principals
my
are,
kid my kid called my husband to win a contest for their little spice things from the teacher's phone. They all have phones in their classroom. Every teacher does.
so let's not do discipline, just nothing severe like detention, but
No, because that's too much. They already have.
No, I'm just saying a Swiss. Well, you get 3 Swisses. I know this one.
I honestly think we should try, just tell them, put it in their lockers and that's it.
You gotta do something slowly because.
Yeah, the parents
hard
call me,
change
Mr.
isn't gonna go
Terry, and
over well.
I'll explain it to them. No, administration, you're the locus parentis by the law. Like, so if the parent needs to get a hold of the kid, it's supposed to go through the locus parentis, which is them, okay? So no parent needs to be contacting their kid at school. Okay, if it's an emergency, you go through administration, that's it, okay? There's no reason to have a kid, for him to have a phone in school, except to get on social media. That's why they all have it there, which is the exact reason we need to stop it right now. Okay, let's try it. Put them in lockers, done.
Policy in place.
Motion
just
to
add
approve?
it a little bit.
Motion approved.
I wish with that.
Make me use this. Said enough. Mark.
I know one thing I see from my position working in the neighboring district as a nurse. The kids are not feeling well. They will text mom and say, come and get me. I don't feel well. Rather than coming to the nurse, let the nurse do the assessment and then calling the parent if they feel there's a need to send them home. I don't know how many kids I saw, they would text their mom, come down to the nurse's office, and they would say, I texted my mom, I'm not feeling good. She's coming to get me. I said, well, then I can't even see you because you've taken that out of my hands. And they do it all on the phone. And I think that would eliminate that component of the kids being able to receive medical assessments and medical care and not making the decision themselves as to whether they should go home or not. Because a lot of times they just want to go home.
Anybody else on that? I've seen the same conversation since 2005. Just saying. I'm thinking back to my years back when I was a high school assistant principal. 2004, 2005, same time. It's just the age of it really is. It's a tough way to try to raise creative kids at this point.
Well, that's why it's just like if it's a school policy and they have to, I mean, it's not in their locker. They go full purchase lockers that are just for cell phones out there and they have to do it. And like I said, you could generate revenue off of it, because if you really want your kid to take their phone into school, do it that way. Just. I think it helps on both sides of kids as well as teachers. They're not policing them. That's all I've had.
The Sharon Meyer show tonight.
Anybody else?
Many things.
All right, something to definitely look at and research and try to figure out what the best implementation is that we're gonna do. Is to make a policy or update our policy, but it's something that will have to be looked at down the line. And I'm sure there'll be some definite feedback from large percentage of the parents who want their kids to have a phone versus not. And that's something that we as a board would have to deal with at the time. So it won't come easy, let's put it that way. IU, Mrs. Meyer.
Wow, look, it just went to me again. I would pass this. This is just, I'm just giving you guys out the executive report, the annual summary from the IU from last year. You can read it at your leisure, so seeing I've taken up enough of your time. So that just gives you a lot of the things that the IU has been doing over the past few years, a lot of good things. They did have their parade, which unfortunately I didn't make it to because I had another business commitment. But I heard it was great. It was in the paper, so check that out. That's all I got for you.
LCTC, Mr. Gardner.
That would be Mr. Eisenhower,
Oh,
and summer is off. Yeah, we changed that 3 months ago, but that's okay. You're still reading that, okay. Just saying, Dave, everybody else is thinking it.
We'll get it changed in the.
So as of the fall, we will have 35 students in the fall with 15 new students. We'll have 11 in auto, 3 in construction, 2 in criminal justice, 1 in early childhood development, 8 in culinary, and 3 in health. So that's it, LCTC. Can I talk a little bit about the Valley now? Just real quick here. To speak for some parents out in Region 1 I spoke with in the past couple of weeks, they have some concerns, and I know the numbers. I read the Site Logic 8-page report twice, and there's so much that needs fixed with that Valley, so I understand why the numbers say that we should close the Valley and consolidate. One thing we need to think about, and I don't know how you correct this, but we're trying to reverse the cyber school issue. We want people back in the school. I guarantee you, when we shut that Valley down, we will have parents removing their kids. The ones that are in the northern part of the county, I talked to a lady, she got 25 minutes to get to the Valley. Now she's gonna have 40 minutes to go to later for activities and stuff. That parent is gonna cyber school her kid. Okay, we have no way to predict how many, but if we're gonna be basing numbers, like our number of classrooms, we're gonna build off of projected populations. I don't know how you forecast it, but that's a significant issue I don't think we thought about.
I think that people will try it because, I mean, I've been there, you know, I've considered cyber school when I wasn't happy with the way that things were going with that. But as a long-term solution, I think they'll find out really quickly that.
I think as a
15 minutes.
matter of convenience, so I think they will leave and stay out. I spoke with so many people recently that are joining CCA and they love it because it's so personalized, okay? Closing down a people's school, they moved out there for that small school country feel and stuff. You're gonna have a good majority of people pulling the kids out. Okay, I'm not saying a major majority of kids or anything, but there's gonna be a number of parents that pull their kids out. So not to stir the pot anymore, but that's something we should all be thinking about.
Memorial Gardens, Mr. Housman.
No updates this time.
Budget, Mrs. McCoy, Mr. Housman.
We don't have any update, do we? No, no update.
Federal Foundation, I defer to Mr. T.
They had their event. That's about all. They've been quiet this summer.
Thank you, I've been out of town, so I haven't been able to attend. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Albert is here, extracurricular, Mr. Badger, Mr. Huffman.
Not much going on except Mr. Myers. He took some of my steam. The 11 and 12-year-old girls, which are middle school girls, won the district championship in girls softball. Exciting in sectionals. Sectionals were in Sunbury. They won their first game, lost their second, then came back, won their third game. And then they had to play the team that beat them, and they beat them 2-1 and 5-4. Excellent. They played their first game in the state championships Thursday morning at 11 a.m. up at Wellsboro. We're fortunate it's pretty close this year. The 9 and 10-year-old boys, it's a combination of Torresville Loyalsock because we didn't have enough younger kids, neither today. As we had this meeting tonight, they were playing the championship game, so I don't know how that fared out. All the other teams did fairly well. Most of them were done with now. So most of your sports are gearing up in their summer schedules, football, basketball, baseball. Yeah.
Thank you. I got something.
Yeah, sorry.
It's July. You know what that means? It's almost Christmas time.
I was gonna say.
It's almost Christmas time. Hobby Lobby already has the decorations up. I'm pretty confident. I know they have Thanksgiving.
Time to decorate windows already.
It is. It's time to start talking about it because remember last year we had a huge success with the Montourville Chamber of Commerce decorating Broad Street. We got I think 27 or 28 storefronts. It was awesome. We're teaming up this year with the Legion folks for the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. We want to try to tie it all into one.
Oh, cool.
So the school district will team up with those folks and they'll team up with us and vice versa and start to kind of flip the way things have been for the holiday season in the borough here. So that's our goal this year. I just need you guys, if you can, to continue to talk about it and bring it up and formulate plans. And once we start kind of ramping things up, just help us spread the excitement of it. Let us come into the building like we did last year and get a room. We got like 80% of our signups just because we were able to come in here during the Pride time. And the students had an opportunity to come down and talk about it. So we want to kind of go full Griswold this year, the way we're looking at it. So last year was great. The storefronts were awesome, but I want to see more lights and fog machines and whatever. I don't care. Like,
So who supplies the supplies?
the Chamber of Commerce last year would reimburse up to $100 per team for supplies. But we received no receipts from anyone for it. But they could have came to us and said, hey, we bought $75 worth of decorations and we would have paid for that for them.
That will. Now.
What's that? Yeah, I put it in the round filing cabinet. Yeah, it's very good.
So the storefront people, like they're the ones that provide?
No, the teams.
The team that decorates the
kids.
windows.
Okay. The storefront just provides their storefront.
They do. They provide the
But people are
storefront.
actually paying for it.
So absolutely.
We put the kids in the windows? No, dress them up like elves?
If you-
They could.
If you wanna win.
They could use the big storefront.
What's cell phone in the elf? What is the elf?
But the storefronts, they did give up their windows, but they also gave an object of some sorts to go into baskets for prizes. So the top 3 or 4 teams won gift baskets with gift cards or some items, whatever, from the stores as part of their prize. So.
So is this just for students this year, or is it open to more community groups if they want to be involved in that?
We want to get all of Broad Street decorated. So.
Okay.
I don't, last year, I think we were willing to open it up to outside of the district, but we got enough teams at the end. that We didn't need to do that, but I would absolutely be on board with with, having more businesses get involved.
Might as well let them do a parade and let them do floats too.
Hey, man.
Hey, why not?
Baby steps, but that's kind of where we're going.
Santa coming down.
Yeah. Oh,
Is that for me?
Thank you, sir. Nothing for safety and security. Back to you, Mr. President.
Oh, all right. Back to the second and final public comment section of the evening. Once again, this is for taxpayers, residents of the borough.
First, I want to say that I hope you follow up with the cell phone. Because first of all, wouldn't even have to have that discussion if parents bought their kids flip phones. But they don't, they buy them smartphones.
It's a lot cheaper too.
Yes.
How smart was that?
The other thing, I seriously hope that the board looks at opening up the budget when they find out that the revenue from the state is going to be more than what was put in the budget. I seriously hope that you reopen that budget. And the last thing I got is I want to thank the board for approving the tree and plaque from my class of 1974.
Well, it's a great idea.
Hey, maybe I can help you out a little bit, that cell phone thing. If parents make that ridiculous argument about school shootings, you can tell them that even the best OtterBox won't stop a bullet. And that phone, more than anything else, will attract attention to them. When they're texting and it makes noise, and that person who didn't see them at first notices them. It doesn't do anything to help. So there's no reason to have it with them the whole time. The other thing is, I was in class of 74 also with Ron. We didn't have a curriculum coordinator. So it's amazing we learned anything. But I mean, I agree that teachers should teach the same thing so that everybody who comes through comes out with the same education. I mean, it's not going to be exact. Teachers are different. They have their personalities. They stress some things over others, but overall, it should be as close to the same as possible. But the idea that we need a new curriculum for reading. Now, like I say, I'm going on 50 years graduated, so I've been reading for 60 plus years now. I haven't noticed any changes. Reading is still what reading was then. Math is the same thing. I was in engineering. I've been doing math my whole life, and it hasn't changed. I mean, if you're, PhD level, there might be a new thing, little thing that comes along now and then. But you don't have to worry about that here. Science, yeah, there's a lot of changes there, but at the K-12 level, not that much. History, there's been some added since I was here. So maybe there you need a little tweaking every now and then. But I don't know that we need a person to try to coordinate all of that. And like you said, at the high school level, you got all these things. Well, is one person going to be better than four? I mean, I agree at the high school level, maybe instead of by grade level, you want to go by subject. And that way you have continuity through the whole chain. But it's something that needs to be thought about. I mean, how do you get continuity? Ken, the current administration handle that with some help from the teachers? Maybe. Can the teachers do it among themselves? Gonna take some study.
All right, Mr. Reagan, that's your 3 minutes. Thank you.
I didn't have any curriculum instructor or curriculum advisor or nothing. I had, Jack Hester, Cynthia Decker. They were the guidance counselors and they worked with, Bob Lecce, the assistant principal, and the other principals to go over the curriculum for kids. I mean, and they were fabulous. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this one guy, I don't think one person being the curriculum instructor can do the job. I think it takes the whole kit and caboodle, the superintendent, the principals, the guidance counselors, all to collaborate the curriculum.
All right, seeing no one else in the room, we will go to Zoom. Yeah, would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, that will end the public comment section for the evening, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's it. Thanks, folks.
Right.